Many of us have fond memories of past events that we will sadly never get to experience again. But the beauty of life is that it is an ever changing enigma, throwing new surprises and curveballs at us with each passing day. Some of us embrace this with a sense of faith and hopefulness, while others simply wish they could go back to those moments past, or fast forward past the hardships to come. Due to the constructs of time, it is currently impossible to revisit those previous moments, and impossible to skip ahead to the future. But what if we could go back or forward in time? What would we do differently? What would we change or prevent? And what would be the consequences to those actions? Could things we changed in our past still have a lingering presence in our new future? How would traveling to the future affect the past we skipped through? In today's episode, we're going to discuss what science can tell us about the possibilities of time travel, what the possible effects of time traveling could be, and if the worldwide phenomena known as the Mandela Effect could possibly be a result of time travel. So pull up a chair, grab a drink, and join us as we dissect today's topics in this big brain episode of Tipplers 2 Cents. I'm talking to you from the past right now. Sip on that. Hello, drinkers and thinkers, and thank you for joining us for episode 12. So glad to be back. I'm your host, Chris Walters, and joining me is our co-host, the one and only Sean Knox.
Hey guys, how you doing? I got my fucking taint hair stuck in my zipper this morning. That's not a joke at all.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, I made the poor decision of putting on my pants while laying down, and these new pants, I'm a 38-30, so the zipper goes like down really low. I zipped it up, and it was such a pain that I think could go on par with childbirth. Like, I'm not kidding. This hurt so fucking bad. But yeah, so that's my intro for today.
Well, thank you, like I said, for joining us for episode 12. Today, I'm just going to start off by telling you today's episode is going to go a little bit differently than we've been doing the previous episodes. So, formerly, we've been doing more of fact-heavy, really kind of like super educational episodes. But with today's topics, it just didn't feel right to, relay a lot of the and I use air quotes here, but facts given with time travel and the Mandela Effect, as both of these topics are, they're more hypothetical and more like conspiracy theory type stuff. So it just didn't feel right to be, relaying any sort of information that could potentially be just pseudoscience and, kind of relaying that to you guys as fact. So instead, today's episode is more just going to be me and Sean kind of discussing our opinions, our views on these subjects, and kind of diving into more of like what me and Sean as, individuals think about this stuff. And then, of course we're going to have some facts in here as well. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and let everybody know what we're drinking. Today I really don't want to be drinking because I just went to a wedding last night. And did enough drinking there, but I am drinking just straight up gin today. No tonic, just gin.
Oh, did you,
Sean? What?
Did you grab that whenever you came and visited the other day?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
grabbed the bottle. Unfortunately, I left the gin in the car, so not the gin, but I left the tonic in the car, so it just got ruined. Now I'm just stuck drinking straight gin, which is pretty rough. But yeah, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking a Cruz Garcia Real Sangria. I actually have never had sangria. Brittany got it for me. Shout out, baby mama. But yeah, I've never had sangria. Like, she was saying that it's a lot like wine almost, but I don't think that's right. Yeah, made with
No, she's right. Sangria is a bit like wine.
Spanish red wine and natural citrus flavors. So yeah, I guess like wine and orange juice, essentially.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it smells good. Okay. I'm going to pour
All right. Now, I didn't have a toast ready for today, but I'm going to go ahead and give that toast to Jade, who is the sister of my girlfriend. She just got married last night, so I want to toast out to her and Cameron on their, new wedding. So, congratulations to them. Hopefully, they have a long, happy marriage. And cheers.
Cheers.
Whoa, man.
Oh, that is nice. Jesus.
I love gin, but man, drinking it straight is pretty rough.
I do have something to add though. I want to say it's for cheers, but honestly, I'm just really proud of this. It's not a lot if you put it in your head, but honestly, anytime I've done charity work, I haven't raised a lot of money except when I was streaming on Twitch a long time ago. And I didn't do it by myself. I did it with a lot of other people. And we raised $1,500 for leukemia. Not for leukemia, but for studying leukemia.
We raised it for people to get leukemia.
But with the shirt and donations combined on our Facebook page, we got about $26.31. And that isn't a lot, I will admit, but I am very proud that people either bought the shirt or donated to begin with, because the shirt I'm talking about is the Save Our Children shirt. And it's still fucking going on, and I'm not. I hate saying that something's a trend, because that's kind of what it feels like. But
yeah,
certain shit just shouldn't go away. Like BLM fucking shouldn't go away.
No.
I mean, honestly, people have a good sense of if someone's reaching or not. Like some stories I read, you can tell if someone's just reaching and be like, oh, he was being racist. And well, like maybe it's just because I'm white, like I can't see it. But like in other terms, I'm like, yeah, definitely this guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Or with human trafficking and stuff. But either way, it's not going away, and I'm just glad that people are starting to realize that it's not. Unfortunately, it's very real. Racism, human trafficking, homophobia, all that shit desperately needs help. And I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. That's the ultimate goal, is for it to go away. But especially human trafficking. We've been doing that for fucking thousands and thousands of years. So
yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm glad that we raised a little bit of money, and I'm glad that we have fans like you that go out of your way to buy the shirt and donate. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys. If you did donate, thank you very much. But okay. Today's topics that we're going to be talking about is time travel and the Mandela Effect, and why we think there might be a surprising link between the two. Maybe. But anyway, let's get right into it. The first topic for today is time travel. Time travel, as many of you should know, sorry, my throat's a little scratchy. As many of you should know, is the concept of a person being able to move between two different points in time, which those points in time are perceived as the past, present, and future. Now, time travel is obviously, like I said, just a concept. It's not possible, at least as far as we know. And that's kind of the first thing I want to bring up is, Sean, would you say that you think time travel is possible in a sense? Because there's many different ways that a lot of people claim that time travel can be done, such as through a machine, which is the most common concept that many people relate with time travel. But there's also things like temporal displacement, which is just
random.
Randomly forced to time travel, basically. There's mental projection, which can be achieved through hypnosis or some sort of weird coma type instance. But if you think time travel is possible, how do you think it would be performed? Do you think it'd be done by machine, the temporal displacement type deal, or do you think it would be more of the mental projection?
I think, okay, first of all, I do think time travel could be achieved, because it's kind of like I almost said cosmopolitan. like cosmic level fucking elements, kind of like gravity, space itself,
Mm-hmm.
and time is usually like the top three ones that you think about when you think of like interstellar travel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think time itself is an element that we have to experience. Same with space and gravity, but we've already proved that, technically proved that gravity does affect time itself. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we were closer to a black hole, um, if we went to a black hole and we were just on the outside of it, the closer we would get to it, we would be experiencing time the same. However, whoever's on Earth, billions of light years away, would experience time much faster. Or to them it would be the same, but like basically we're speeding through time and they're experiencing it normally. And not only does that maybe have an effect like with the gravitational pull of our sun, like maybe we experience time differently than other star systems and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
um do I think that we can achieve it through like technology? Like maybe I feel like we can do some sort of like a controlled temporal displacement.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of cool, but it would be a one-way trip. That's why everyone always kind of thinks of a time machine like a vehicle.
Yeah.
Um, so that
Able to
way,
get you from point A to point B, but also take you back to point A.
yeah. And I mean, there's dozens of versions, more than dozens of versions that you can look up for, like concepts of a time machine, like Family Guy, how he has just like the pad or
Yeah.
whatever that you step on.
Yep.
But I don't know, like it would take an immense amount of power, and I think a way, and probably a way to manipulate gravity as well,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
not just gravity, but your gravity. I think.
yeah. And so what you were saying about that, I do want to talk about that a little more in depth in a few minutes. But yeah, that's called gravitational time dilation, and that is a real thing.
Oh shit, I
That
was right,
yeah, that
dude. I'm fucking
time can
smart.
be time is affected by gravity. So like I said, we'll touch on that in a minute. But yeah, it's just funny because when I was talking about this subject with Crystal, we were talking about the possibility of time travel and stuff. And kind of while I was doing research about this, I did come across a lot of scientists, saying that in it's not in the way that people think about time travel, but time travel is technically possible.
Yeah,
So basically, they said the most possible form of time travel is by it would be going forward in time. It's just not in like how people think. So it's been technically proven though. If you're moving faster, so like let's say you're in like a rocket and it just jolted you across the earth, you would technically be traveling in time. Just obviously it's in a matter of like microseconds. But
well, like what was it? There's a study done that like the processing time for your like the information to hit your eyes and ears and shit like that, and for that like small amount of time for it to reach your brain, you technically experience it like you know nanoseconds, microseconds, whatever,
yeah,
after the fact. That's why like reflexes and stuff like that are all the more impressive with certain like athletic specimens and shit like that,
yeah, because
because
they're actually reacting. Like you said, just everything we're seeing and hearing is actually
it
taking
has already happened.
time to yeah, it's already happened. So it's basically you're seeing stuff in the past, which is kind of weird to think about, but you're seeing stuff that already has happened. It's just taking some time to get back to you. So yeah, that's why fast reflexes is kind of a cool thing, because that means you're seeing it. Obviously you're seeing stuff and reacting to stuff quicker, but it's just also means you're seeing stuff quicker, you're hearing stuff quicker.
Yeah, and
But yeah, that was something interesting I came across too. Is just that everything we're seeing and hearing is from the past technically.
yeah, I mean, fuck, like it's kind of cool to think about because a lot of people, what the fuck was the word from the it was from the de-evolution episode. It was like it was a big ass word. It was essentially like us thinking that we're the apex, like nothing more important than us, which ultimately, like, that's our instinctual, feeling. Like, we can't really help that.
Yeah.
However, it's kind of cool to think about, like, if we're playing video games, there's this thing called ping, or basically it's like the delay for information to reach from your computer to the server in which you're playing a game on. And that, like, think of it that way. Like, if you type something in, or rather, if you shoot a guy in a video game, especially an online video game, then it has to send that information to a server, and then send that information to that other player that you just shot, that he's been shot. So that's kind of how I see it. Is your brain is actively experiencing everything, but your eyes are having to take that information, send it to your brain, and then send it to your arms and legs and stuff on how to react. And like, it's just so weird to think about, just because I'm very much a person that I believe that everyone should live in the moment, but isn't it kind of fucked up that you're never actually in the moment?
Yeah, I know. Honestly, you're not. Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like, of course, I would like to, say live in the moment and live every day, to your fullest and all that stuff. I really try to live by that as much as I can, but of course, everybody has those ideas of going back and all that stuff and changing things or wishing they'd done something different.
Well, speaking of, like, going back and all that stuff, like, would you go back in time, or would you go, in the future?
Yeah, that's a hard one, because the immediate response from most people, I think, would be to go back and change something.
Okay. So two different things, right? I feel like I think you and me can both agree that, like, if we went back in time just to experience something or interact, and we knew for a solid concrete fact that it wouldn't change anything in our present, would you do that?
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's the thing too, is I'd have to know for a fact that it's not gonna make any major changes. Like, and I think we're both on the same page of thinking, like, I don't want it to affect my daughter, her existence, or the events leading up to that. I'll even take all the bad times that led up to that moment for them to happen.
Okay. Well, like,
but as far as going back in time and changing something minuscule or whatever, like, maybe, I don't know. Like, and that's the thing too, is if I were to go back in time and my intention was to change something, I don't think I'd go back and change, like, oh, there's one time when I was in 3rd grade and I shit myself, and I don't want everybody to remember that.
Yeah.
I would change something else. I would change something with significance.
And it also,
I mean, as far as choosing something right off the top of my head, I can't really say there's anything I would necessarily go back and change right now.
I wouldn't show my dick for drugs.
I didn't know you did that, but
yeah.
I mean, you've done a lot of other questionable things.
First of all, I withhold a lot of information from you, and a lot of people, I think. But if I can find a platform in which to say it in a funny way, I'm going to say that. I don't know if this is funny. Don't feel bad for me, because I was dumb. And honestly, I probably wouldn't go back to change it, because I got some sweet fucking speed out of it. No, honestly, like, there's just certain things that you have to think about as well. Like, the hypothetical, or the scenario of it being like, oh, well, you can go back and nothing will change, and, your present won't change. A lot of people will be like, well, what the fuck is the point? I want my life to be better.
Yeah.
Another thing is you could go back in time, and technically, like, if time is cyclical, being it goes in a circle, that would mean that you go back in time to change something for nothing, because that would lead to the same outcome of you going back in time anyway. So essentially, if I wanted to go back in time and stop myself from doing drugs, right? But I didn't want to see myself or whatever, or basically I try to do like little tiny things to stop myself. However, those little tiny things are actually what did happen to me that led me to do drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what cyclical time is no matter what you do, it still it already happened. Whatever is going to happen already has happened. And that's it. Nothing can change, and you can go back in time all you want. It's just it's just a loop-de-loop that goes back to the same track. However, another way is if you go back in time, and by the way, fucking shout out to Dragon Ball Z, because holy shit, like I didn't even realize until I was an adult how fucking clever of a plot device this was. But basically, it's if you go back in time and to fix something, and then when you go back to your present, nothing changed. And I mean that as in, like, he did succeed, or you did succeed doing something, and yet nothing changed anyway, only to find out that that wasn't your timeline that you went back to. So essentially, the act of going back in time, you created a parallel universe that, went off on a different path because you did that. So technically, you could have succeeded, but that's not you anymore. That's a different version of you.
That's always been one of the, and I mean, I know it's a common thing in movies, but that's always been one of the things that is probably the most confusing about time travel. And I kind of want to think or ask you what you would think about that too. Is like, how do you think it would be? Do you think the rules of time travel would be that if you went back, there's another version of you still there or whatever? Or like you were saying, it's you just kind of create like an alternate timeline. Because like me and Crystal were talking, and I was like, well, if you went back in time, would you absorb your former self? And you guys both are the same. Like, if I went back in time, would I become the same Chris that was in the past? Or is there a younger version of me walking around and then future me, like a lot of people in movies assume? But I'm like, it's confusing, because if I went back into the past and there's still a version of me walking around, then how the hell does that work? That means there's two me's all of a sudden.
Well, that is kind of the thing. Like, one of those rules with time travel is you shouldn't interact with yourself. I don't think. Okay, so personally, hold on, just a little backtrack. Personally, I think that every choice you make at any time is creating a parallel universe.
Mm-hmm. Because I talked about that in the multiverse episode.
Yeah, because I highly believe that the multiverse is a real thing. But I think, for it to be infinite, an infinite number of possibilities, it would have to be an infinite number of opportunities to make those possibilities. So, like, just me saying the words that I'm saying now is making a universe in itself, whereas in another universe I'm saying the same thing but slightly different. You know what I mean? And even for the viewers, there's probably an infinite number of universes that people are listening to the show, and one person, a guy named Chad, he's taking in the show and he's being like, oh, okay, like, I get what he's saying, but even his thought process is slightly different than another universe. Like, those tiny, tiny, tiny differences make universes all the fucking time, and that's the only way I could think for a multiverse to be infinite and ever growing. So I guess if I were to go back in time and it was that, it would probably be a double, and I don't think there would be any consequences to interacting with yourself, because that's not you, and I don't think there's ever a situation in time travel where you would actually interact with the true you. Like,
yeah, you're saying when you go back in time and you interact with your younger self, you just created a different timeline.
Yeah. Like, it is.
So you're talking to a different version of yourself instead of the you that's going to be traveling to the future.
Yeah.
Or traveling to the past, I mean, in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
And by the way, just so any I'm sure a lot of people know what Dragon Ball Z is, but for the people that don't, because I know we have a lot of older listeners, it's just it's a cartoon that I grew up with, and in like the second season, or not second season, like the second saga they call it. Basically, it's a guy travels back in time to warn the main protagonist, or a main protagonist,
Yep.
that he's going to have a heart attack, and he needs him to save the world, essentially. And so he gives him medicine to cure his heart condition, and lo and behold, when he goes back, thinking that he goes back to his time, thinking that he solved the issue, the issue is still there, like the world still ended, and he doesn't understand why, and he figured out that he basically made another universe. But I'm just saying, for back in the day, like, because I think that was around like the 80s and 90s, that was just a really well thought out thing, because a lot of time travel movies and shows and stuff back then seemed kind of shallow. I think the only one that gets a lot of, probably should get more understanding, is like Quantum Leap, because that one was really good.
But, yeah, and it does like it applies a lot of rules to like his ability to jump from universe to universe and all that stuff. So
yeah, but I'm just saying, for like a cartoon in the fucking like 80s or 90s, like that's still really impressive for a plot device.
Yeah, and that's why I like it, because it addresses the problem that I was saying, where like if me now went back into 1990 or whatever, or 1990, I wasn't even born then. Like, let's say I went back to the year 2000. It's like, how are we both there? Like, that has to be a different version of me, or else that doesn't make any sense.
Well, because okay, so think of it as two roads, right? And if everything is infinite, then that means everything is happening at the same time, technically. So no matter where you if you're on a road on the right, and there's a road on the left, you can't see into that road, but you take a step into it, and you're like, okay, what fucking year is it? Because it was 2020 in my time. Bless you.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It was 2020 in my time, but in this one, it's 2003. It is more. It feels like it's more because of our like dimensional state, that we don't really get to choose what time we end up in if we were to time travel, and also going into that parallel universe thing, like if you were to even go back in time, that would make it like that road is doing a loop-de-loop, but that loop-de-loop ends up on another track. Whereas there's another version of that loop-de-loop that just keeps going. It doesn't go into a loop-de-loop. So there could be a version where essentially like you get sent back in time, and then the version where you didn't get sent back in time, like the machine didn't work or whatever, to make that make sense, or you know what I mean? Like, so it really is a fucking mind bender.
Yeah, and the way I'm trying to explain is, and if we're going to use the same kind of analogy, is I'm thinking of time as just a one track road.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only way to go forward or backwards. And so that was why it's making a dilemma for me, because if it's like, say I'm in that vehicle going on the road and I'm going forwards, well, if I choose to go backwards, why would I run into another version of myself on that same road? You know what I'm saying? If we're thinking of it in time, like if you time travel from the future to the past, I would just picture it as being, I just get younger as I go into the past. I would just become that younger version of myself again. Well, that's how I would see it.
Well,
anyway,
here's where
it just doesn't make sense to me without going into the whole alternate timeline thing and all that stuff.
Well, okay, so here's where dimensions come in. If you guys know the term for like a 2D, two-dimensional, or 3D, two-dimensional is let's just break it down. So essentially, what dimension do we live in right now?
Third,
right? Plus time, and what dimension does time live in?
Which is the fourth or something?
Yeah, it's the fourth. So, but we still do experience time, but it's just on a one-track road, like you said. However, so if we break it down, I think this is string theory. I'm not quite sure what the actual name is, but I fucking am obsessed with this shit. So, for the first dimension is a single point, and that's it. Two dimensions is it creates an x and y axis where it can go vertically and horizontally, and that's pretty much it. So just imagine a stick man on a piece of paper with an x and y axis, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the third dimension, it adds a x, y, a z axis, I think. So it creates depth. So that's what that's what the dimension that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
So how you were saying, if you were to go back in time, you should just de-age, right?
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. Since you're a third dimensional being, if you were to go back in time, you would stay the same age. That's why it would create these splits in time to create different tracks of time to lead to different parallel universes and so and so. If you were a fourth dimensional being, or if you were able to go on like the fourth dimensional plane, like the fourth dimension version of that road, then essentially you can go up and down that road and age and de-age. But because you don't live in that dimension, or you're not a being of that dimension, you can't do that.
Interesting.
And you know, I time travel is weird just because it always makes me think of this kind of stuff. You know, because it has a lot to do with it. Like it really does. Like, sorry, like if you go into the fourth dimension, like I said, a road going forward makes you older, going backward makes you younger. And fifth dimension, and by the way, this goes up to 10, but I'll keep it quick. Fifth dimension, imagine you're at an intersection, and you can just keep going up and down that road. The left, if you're going to turn left and right, those roads are closed, but you can see into that road, and there's a car exactly the same as the car you're driving, right? Or maybe slightly different. So you can see into them, but you can't get into them. That's what being a fifth dimensional being is. So basically, you can travel throughout time willingly within your own dimension, and you can see your doppelgangers essentially, but you can't interact with them. And then sixth dimension makes you go over into that street, that same intersection, where you can actually take a right or take a left and then continue on. But you know, it really just boils down to like what these little slight differences are. Because if one dimension you take a left, that means the next dimension you have to take a left, so it's not uniform, or it's uniform and you don't collide with each other essentially. So how you were saying, like basically, if you were to run into yourself, or how we were saying anyway, if we were to run into ourselves, like what would happen? It seems like that other version would just go away because there's no room for two, basically. And that kind of goes into like astrophysics itself, or just physics in general, where all the mass in the universe already is. You can't make more mass. You can't destroy mass. It's just there. Right. So, like, what would happen to introduce new mass, like brand new mass into a universe? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it does seem like when you make that turn, the other version of the car in the next universe would have to move over and go into another universe. And then like like 7th, 8th, and 9th basically is just like different start conditions for universes and stuff like that. And different start conditions, different rules of laws of physics and stuff like that. And you know, this is, like I said before, it's infinite, and it's millions of different versions, whatever you can think of. Like we said before in the 2012 episode, literally whatever you can think of, it's happening somewhere.
Yeah.
But with this, it just gets really cool, because once you get to the 10th dimension, it basically becomes the first, because the 10th dimension is everything all at once and nothing all at once. So it's every version of everything ever into one single dot. And it gets really convoluted and hard to wrap your mind around. But as far as time travel goes, understanding dimensions is just as important as understanding gravity and stuff like that. And that's why I think that there is no fucking way in hell that we could do it anytime soon. But I think we could eventually do it. But I don't know if that would we would be able to do it in the dimension that we currently live in, basically. Like, I feel like we'd have to evolve or transcend into another dimension, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, kind of like how we were talking about it towards the beginning. As far as like time travel being possible, I mentioned like speed and stuff like that affects it. That was one of Einstein's theories. It's called the theory of special relativity, and yeah, it just basically explains like how space and time are linked for objects that are moving at the same speed, as long as they're going in a straight line. So like kind of basically what I was talking about, like stuff that's traveling faster is technically, uh, moving at a faster time than something standing still or whatever. Like I even came across some articles stating that, I mean, shit, like it was weird stuff. Like your head ages differently than the rest of your body because it's at a higher elevation, experiencing different gravity than the rest of your body. And like if you put a watch on your foot or around your ankle, and then you put a watch around your wrist, the one on your ankle would actually be like a couple of seconds behind or whatever the one on your wrist. It was just a lot of weird stuff, but all basically surrounding this theory of special relativity. But it also has to do with like what you were mentioning, stuff being affected by gravity, which, like I said, it's a phenomenon called gravitational time dilation, and it just basically means that time moves slower near massive objects. That's why like typically people refer to like black holes and stuff like that, because black hole is just a huge dense fucking vortex. And yeah, like this brought me up to an interesting kind of question that I couldn't really necessarily find like a solid answer on, but it brought me to a question of, do astronauts age slower than people on Earth?
They don't age.
And I mean, the answer I found was that they do age slower because of the gravity difference and stuff like that. But it's by like, like we were talking about, it's like by milliseconds and stuff. Nothing noticeable. So it's not like they're gonna come back and be like, well, I was 40 when I left and I'm still 40. It's like, nah, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Or I think everybody would be trying to get to space.
Yeah, well, here's another thing that, okay, it depends on how you view time, right? So, us being humans, like I said, being selfish assholes, thinking we're apex, we're thinking that, oh, whatever we decide time is what time is. And, I mean, that can be applied to anything, like even mathematics and shit. Like, just because we prove it's right on our terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's right in the context of which we put it into.
Yeah. So, I mean, seriously, like, just apply that to anything in your fucking life.
Yeah.
Any person that's arguing with you, just be like, you know what, it doesn't matter. That's why I'm not confrontational. It's just because I'm like, I don't give a fuck about what you think, so why would I want to argue with you?
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, think of it like a time zone, right? Like, it's 3:52 here in the UK, or no, not in the UK, in New York, it would be 4, 5, 6, it's 7 o'clock in New York. And then another 4 hours for the UK, so 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So like 11 o'clock p.m. in the UK. And then, so it's how we view time, and how we view time is where the sun is on Earth as we experience it on, the side of the planet that we're on. And that's just how we organize it here. But if we bring in aliens or, fucking just, I don't know, even like multidimensional things, like time doesn't really have a way to measure it. And like, I'm not talking about clocks necessarily, it's just how we value time, because it's ever fleeting and ever coming. And it's odd to think about that way, because, whenever you think of time, you're like, oh yeah, my clock, my stopwatch. I need to make my appointment on time, blah, blah, blah. You know, I need to get there at 4, so I need to leave in 15 minutes. It's weird to think about time outside of your own power. Because I don't know, it's hard to explain because it's such a fucking headache of of a thought. Okay, essentially, how you were saying, astronauts do age slower, but not really. Like they essentially, if you go out in space, you're not aging at all. But you're only aging on Earth because you're experiencing gravity and weather, weathering conditions and stuff like air, oxygen, shit like that. So that's what makes your body age. Whenever astronauts age, they're still experiencing oxygen because they're receiving it. But if you were just to go out in space, no suit or anything, not only would you die, but guess what? That's the most preserved your body's ever gonna fucking be. Nothing on Earth, no amount of formaldehyde is gonna fucking keep your body in such tip-top fucking preservation than being iced out in space.
Yeah, but you'd also be like frozen completely solid.
Yeah, but that's not the fucking point, Christopher. All right. I'm okay. If you weren't solid, or if you weren't frozen solid, if all your blood vessels didn't boil and explode, all that shit, take that out of the equation, you would be perfectly preserved in space because you do not age. But yeah, like I said, I mean, technically, like how you were saying, they still age in space. It's still because they are experiencing gravity, but just less and less. Like if you were to go out in deep space, nothing around for billions of light years, no, you would not age. I don't think. At least not for a fucking long ass time.
Yeah, and that's also what makes me interested in space travel because it unlocks a lot of possibilities for the advancement of humans.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're talking about, the gravity difference alone affects how time affects us. And I think that right there, like that should be enough to be like, okay, let's start figuring out how the fuck to get into space.
Well, I think that's what stasis is. Like if you were to go into a ship and say we're traveling to Betelgeuse, which is another star. I'm not sure of how far away it is, but if we were to travel there, we would have to go into stasis, and that's essentially slowing down your metabolism and everything, essentially slowing down time for your body. So mentally, it would be fucking, minutes, seconds for you. Your body would still experience it. Like I said, there's always that ever-flowing gravity in space. Like, that's not going away. If there wasn't gravity, we probably wouldn't age, but we also probably wouldn't exist. But I think that's what stasis is. I'm not sure. I'm gonna do a fucking Google.
But yeah, one other thing too is like going back to like how we were talking in the beginning about time travel being possible. And like I had said, that it is technically possible. But for it to be like where we're trying to think of it in like terms of like how it's explained in movies and stuff, basically explain that you'd have to move like either as fast as the speed of light or faster. And that kind of brings me back to just talking about how it would be possible, because I think by machine there's no way we'd ever be able to do that, because I can't picture any sort of material on Earth that could withstand surviving going the speed of light. Not only that, but the human body wouldn't be able to experience. You'd probably just disintegrate like instantly if you traveled at the speed of light. So let's say it's a capsule. The capsule itself would have to be made of a material to withstand traveling at the speed of light
and protect whatever is inside of it.
And also protect whatever's inside of it. So it's like, how would you even do that?
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, as far as a machine goes, I don't know how the hell we would ever be able to make a machine to travel back or forward in time.
Well, honestly, even sorry to bring interstellar travel back into this, but honestly, light speed isn't really that impressive when you think about it, because you got to think about a light year is like a long time. that basically, I'm fucking totally getting this wrong, but it's basically in terms of like a light year is it takes light a year to reach that destination. So that's still a long fucking time. So whenever like their star system, like most of the star systems are fucking pretty far away from us. So like 50 million light years away and shit like that. That means you're still gonna have to fucking be cruising through space at light speed at 50 million for 50 million years.
Hmm.
And but I know this is super fucking not true, like, but I have the spirit, all right. And another thing is with going light speed, it's also doesn't really guarantee like if you're 50 million years, you're gonna fucking die in 50 million years, not only from starvation and shit like that, but like like there's no fucking way. Like going light speed through space, like you have to worry about like radiation from certain suns, neutrinos that can material. Oh, not neutrinos. Yeah, I think neutrinos that can materialize. Just fucking dust. Just
Yeah.
dust. Dust can fucking shred your spacecraft in seconds.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Like there's no material on Earth that could withstand all the stuff it would require
Now,
to travel that fast.
A warp drive, though? A warp drive. That's what...
Yeah, and see, even then, that's going back to talking about jumping in between... jumping in through, like, a slit.
That's going into space-time, though. So space,
yeah.
and there's a hyphenate for a reason, because space and time are essentially the same thing. That's kind of what they're going into, and gravity's the differentiator, I think. And, yeah, like for a warp drive, it's basically making. Okay, so a warp drive would basically be like if you're on the ground, a warp drive allows you to dig a tunnel down, and then end up in an area that you wanted to end up in. It's like digging to China essentially, but it works.
Yeah, the way Neil Tyson deGrasse explained it was he folded a piece of paper in half. Or yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He folded a piece of paper in half and then punched a pencil through it, and that was how he explained it. He was like, taking both of those pieces as time, and then you're the object going through it. And I was like, okay, it makes it a little easier to visualize. Yeah,
you're bending the space, which is the folding. You're the object, the pencil, and punching the hole would be like, the time, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's just really cool to think about. Fuck, I didn't even think we'd be talking about interstellar travel on this one. Like, at all.
I kind of envisioned we would be. Just time travel and the Mandela Effect are going to touch on a lot of different subjects, just inherently, and that's why they needed to be their own episode.
Yeah,
I wanted to include the Mandela Effect and time travel, touch on them at least in the multiverse one, but it just didn't. There was no way. We'd be talking for like 4 hours.
Okay, so stasis is a period or state of inactivity or equilibrium. So yeah, it basically is slowing down everything to complete balance.
Okay.
So yeah, it's essentially slowing down time for your body, or so that way your body doesn't experience it. It kind of sounds like you would essentially have to die and then come back to life later.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you would still age. Like your blood would have to move ever so slowly. Your digestive system would have to move ever so slowly, but that still has a time limit on it, even if that time limit is pretty long. The sangria is fucking good. I'm getting silly.
All right, so I have one more question for you for time travel stuff before we move on.
Okay.
And this was one that I came across while I was doing research about this stuff, and it was, I don't know, this question I had never heard before, and it's really interesting. So the question was, does the fact that there are no time travelers now prove that time travel will never be invented in the future? So basically saying, since no time travelers are here walking around saying I traveled back, to the past, does that mean it's never going to be invented? Because obviously they would have come back by now. Or, since how we've been talking, does that mean we're just in a timeline where it's not happening?
That's probably it. I mean, and by the way, infinite timelines, that doesn't necessarily mean it does not exist. And I mean, okay, So, got to keep in mind if there is a version where it just isn't happening, we could be in that one, but we don't know. We're definitely not in one where it's proven, and we could be in one where it's just hidden.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that people brought up is maybe the time travelers just don't want to reveal themselves.
Yeah, and
for various reasons. It could be dangerous for them to reveal themselves or whatever.
Well, there are a lot of pictures of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty fucking sure he's a time traveler. So
there's one other actor too, but yeah, Keanu Reeves definitely looks like a fucking time traveler when you start looking at all those old pictures.
Well, there's pictures of yeah. So there. Okay, I might save a couple of these. There's pictures of a man with an iPhone back in the 1950s. There's a picture of a guy dressed as a pretty modern era hipster in a JFK photo.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up while we're talking about this, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And yeah, and there's actually one of Greta Thunberg in the 1600s. Like, fucking 100% that's Greta Thunberg. If you don't know who Greta Thunberg is, she's the, environmentalist teenager.
Yeah.
Blew up for about a year, and now I think she's just doing regular environmental work, but she basically...
Yeah, we got more important shit going on in the world.
Yeah. She's famous for laying into a bunch of fucking boomers, essentially.
Yeah.
But, whatever. I like Greta Thunberg. Fucking, who cares? If you don't like her, fuck you.
Yeah. But talking about that picture, that was one I wanted to bring up because it's probably like one of the most popular ones where people are talking about time travelers existing and then trying to stay in the shadows type thing. Because that photo is really interesting too, because there was a lot of people who tried to analyze it and stuff like that and couldn't really poke holes in it. Like, couldn't really say like, yeah, this looks photoshopped or whatever. Like,
yeah, like he has.
That's really cool that he does look modern too. Like, looking at the picture.
Yeah, he's wearing like a gray and black. I can't think of how the design is, but it's a pretty common design for like a hoodie, and with a shirt, like a t-shirt underneath it. He's wearing like kind of like Ray-Ban horn rim sunglasses. Maybe horn rim's not right. But also he has a pretty modern era haircut, like letting the top be really wavy, yet the sides be shaved and stuff like that.
Yeah, it just wasn't something you'd see back in this kind of time period.
Yeah,
yeah. When was the photo taken?
I have no idea.
I think it was in the 40s actually, like 1940 something.
Well, it was I think it was the JFK, like around then.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'd have to look it up, but it was way back when. And yeah, still everybody around him, like almost every single dude has a different haircut, wearing suit or whatever, styles of the times, and he's yeah, and what essentially looks like a hoodie and a kind of like a band shirt almost or something.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That picture, like, I don't know. Like, that's one of the ones where it's just kind of like, it's either just a really good fucking Photoshop, or it is proof, but even a picture isn't that much proof of a time traveler. You'd have to have someone make a display of power. You know what I mean? Yeah. And how can you display power with time travel? That means you'd have to change something. And even if you did change something, that means we already experienced it, and that's not... It makes nothing different for us. So I don't think there's even a way to prove that there are time travelers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you would either, unless like they fucking could prove it somehow for themselves. But
yeah, because someone somewhere fucking was like, "Hey, get that kid away from Harambe's cage," and then fucking, yeah, like if that never happened, if there was if now that gorilla is still alive and kicking in some other universe, like there'd be like, he'd be like, "Oh, I saved Harambe from getting shot." They're like, he wasn't gonna get shot. Yeah, what are you talking about?
What the hell are you talking about? That never happened.
But this fucking timeline, Harambe caused a bunch of fucking... I swear to God, Harambe is the flashpoint for everything wrong with our world now.
Yeah, this is why we're here. This is why 2020 sucks so bad, because you damn people can't stay out of the gorilla's cage.
Yeah.
He was just trying to live his little monkey life, all right?
Yeah.
He didn't deserve that.
So, speaking of Flashpoint, did you ever read the Flash comics?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I never read them or anything.
So that kind of goes into it as well, creating parallel universes and stuff. I'm not going to tell you too much about it just because it's it's cool, and I think there's like one-shots there's one-shot comics based off of the main Flash storyline, and it was essentially a way to reboot the DC comic franchise, which is pretty clever. But one-shots from Flashpoint is when he like goes back in time and it creates a bunch of parallel universes that makes different outcomes and stuff. Like there's a version where Thomas Wayne ended up becoming Batman and Martha Wayne becoming the Joker because their son was shot in an alleyway, which by the way is fucking amazing. So please like look up Flashpoint comics because they're great. Don't look into DC comics in general though, because honestly they're really convoluted and hard to follow. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's any concrete way to prove that time travelers exist. So, and honestly, even if I was a time traveler, I don't think I'd want to bring that attention to myself.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Maybe it could be dangerous for him, because if that technology isn't available now, if somebody found out they had it, wouldn't they want to try to get that for themselves? So, yeah, and, just also if we go back to talking about, like, how changing something in the past could affect the future or whatever, if they're there for a very specific reason, they might need to keep their intentions hidden because they don't want to change something else by accident or whatever, and they want to make sure everything that they're doing in the past is going to turn out the way they want it to. So,
yeah.
But with all of this stuff said about time travel and all that stuff, going to bring up that, like we were saying in the intro to this episode, might have a little bit of a thing to do with the Mandela Effect. But we'll be getting into that a little bit more right after a Tipplers Tidbit.
Tipplers Tidbit.
Today's Tipplers Tidbit is a nice little factoid about whiskey for all you whiskey lovers out there, Sean.
Yep.
The best way to drink whiskey is without ice and with just a small splash of spring water, according to whiskey connoisseurs and collectors. Ice apparently will alter the flavor and dampen the aroma, which is, part of the reason why whiskey lovers love whiskey. While a splash of spring water will actually enhance the flavor and boost the aroma. So next time you're trying a nice glass of expensive whiskey, maybe you just want to show off to your friends at a party, skip adding the ice and just drop a splash of spring water in there to enhance your drink and show your knowledge of whiskey. This has been your Tipplers Tidbit.
Tipplers Tidbit.
So yeah, speaking about how the Mandela Effect can be linked to time travel, we were kind of talking about how going back in the past can change things in the future. If we're talking about how I was talking about it and kind of keeping this one-track timeline. If you went back into the past and changed something and then went towards the future, something like how we were speaking about the Harambe situation might have never happened in that new future. So people would be like, what the hell are you talking about? That is one of the things that I think can explain the Mandela Effect. But for people that don't know what the Mandela Effect is, let me explain real quick. So the Mandela Effect is basically this sort of phenomena that basically occurs when a large number of people share a false memory. So it's like somebody says something in the past and people are remembering it differently. A good example of this is where the term originated from, which was when Nelson Mandela, well, I should say when people think Nelson Mandela died in the 80s. A lot of people seem to remember him dying in the 80s in prison, I believe it was, when in reality that never happened. Nelson Mandela actually passed away in 2013. So why are so many people remembering this wrong? And that basically just boils down to a thing called collective false memory. And I think we went over that in our very first episode, actually, when talking about the Roswell stuff. A lot of people thought they saw army officers pulling alien bodies out of wrecked spacecraft, when in the reality it was just them pulling test dummies from wrecked like air balloons and stuff.
Yep.
But you get enough people to fool each other into thinking they saw something, then it just basically starts this trend of everybody remembering the wrong thing. And there's actually been tests done about this kind of stuff, about this kind of false memory thing, where it's like just influencing people to remember stuff wrong can make people believe themselves about being wrong. So, for instance, there was like a test where like it was some sort of computer test or something, and you just had to do whatever the program was, and basically the tester would come out and accuse the person of messing it up. And even though that test subject knew they didn't mess it up, after eventually being like led to believe by the person testing them that they had messed something up, they would eventually just be like, oh, I guess I must have messed something up. And then now you just have this guy who, even though he originally knew he didn't do anything wrong, now he believes that. So that's kind of like what happens with this collective false memory. You just get one person to change their mind and believe something, and then next thing you know, it just starts this trend. And that's basically what the Mandela Effect really is.
Yeah,
but some people, think it's different things. And like for me, I'm linking it a little bit to time travel because I think it could explain it a little bit.
I think that I don't know. I don't really think the Mandela Effect has a lot to do with it. It is a really cool thought that time travel could have caused like an absorption of two universes, or fucking falling in and out of different universes individually, which would make past like memories and stuff like that be different. It's a really cool concept, but it's been almost pretty much fucking disproven. I mean, however, I do agree with a lot of these false memories. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, so I think the main one that I wanted to talk about first was the one that we brought up in the sorry, I bumped my mic there. But the one that we brought up in the multiverse theory episode, and that's the Statue of Liberty being on Ellis Island, which is how a big majority of people remember it. When in reality it's on Liberty Island, which I mean I guess makes sense. But a lot of people remember that as being it being on Ellis Island, and me too. I do remember it being on Ellis Island. In fact, when I was looking up the Statue of Liberty, I was like, "It's not? Like, what the fuck?
Like
it's not."
Like I said in that episode, I swear to God, there's a Liberty Island. I don't care. I know for a fact there's Liberty Island, and they're hiding it from us. Conspiracy. All roads leading to the Denver airport. Like, there's no fucking way. I swear to God. Or, not Liberty Island, the fucking, I thought it was on Coney Island. That's what it was. But apparently...
is that what it is? Maybe I said it wrong.
No. You had the Ellis Island, Liberty Island, right? I thought it was on,
Oh, you thought it was on Coney Island?
Yeah, that's what I thought. However, I've never been to New York, and I've also I don't know jack shit about New York, so... by the way...
I don't either.
I'm feeling a little... Chris. I'm feeling good.
Sangria is speaking.
I'm feeling good. I'm not looking at our notes right now because I genuinely want to remember shit how I remember it.
Okay, so, well, that's good, because then I can test you on some of these, because I have a couple of these listed down.
Yeah, go ahead.
But still staying on the Statue of Liberty real quick. There's a lot of people who remembered being able to go and take pictures at the top. And by the top, I mean, like, the torch. And there's people that were like, yeah, I swear, I remember going up there and yada, yada, yada. But the reality is that the Statue of Liberty's torch has been closed off for, like, forever. Like, literally forever. So anybody that's remembering going up there is just wrong, according to our reality. Yeah, because I guess there was this big fire that happened there. They closed it down completely, and no tourists have been able to be up there for, like, I think, like, over 100 years. So literally nobody has been up there, but we have all these people remembering going up there. The reality is they probably just went, up to where the usual tourist spot is in the Statue of Liberty, and maybe they were mistaken about going up into the torch. They might have just gotten misled.
See, I even have anecdotal proof of this because, like, I've gotten people to, and honestly, this is just because I'm an asshole and out of my own curiosity to see if I could do it, and I'm sure everyone else has done this too. I don't really fucking care. But I have done this to other people before, where I'll be like, hey, Chris, remember when we went to, this place, or, like, maybe make it a little bit more understandable, like, remember when we went to the Pinellas, right? I could do that, but so it's placing a memory in your head that you know was real, and then adding a scenario in which that memory, we did experience that memory, then adding a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, you told this, like, great joke by the fire and blah, blah, blah. So, like, with that positive reinforcement being like, yeah, you told a great joke, everyone laughed, then you're like, yeah, I did, yeah, it was this, or whatever, or I remember that. And in my head, I'm like, that didn't happen. You know what I mean? But, like, I've done that so many fucking times, and it works, like, 80% of the time. And it 100% works with fucking positive reinforcement. And these percentages are not at all true. But, or not at all accurate. But, I mean, like, it works more with positive reinforcement. It'll be like, oh, yeah, I've seen your cock, bro. It's fucking huge. And you're like, yeah, it is. Wait.
Like, oh, yeah, you must have.
No, I just mean, like, I know for a fact I've done this to people. And it's crazy how fucking easily memory can be manipulated.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact that's true, but with other not references, but other, like, memories and stuff, especially very big pop culture references that turn out not to be fucking true, it does bring to question, like, how the fuck did this even happen? Or how did this get changed so drastically?
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a couple examples of, like, pop culture stuff that I want to bring up, too. Quite a little bit, actually, because just researching this stuff, it was, like, crazy how many I came across.
Yeah, there's a fuck ton.
But, yeah, like, one of the most popular ones, well, I should say there's quite a few, but one of the most popular ones I've come across recently has been the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears, and there's even some people who remember it as the Bernstein Bears. Bernstein, not Berenstain.
I remember it as Berenstain.
So, like, Berenstein.
Yeah, Berenstain.
Berenstain. Okay. The reality is that it's Berenstain.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's Berenstain Bears. And, even listening to the theme song, she says Berenstain.
That's a fucking dumbass name. They're fucking Polish, alright?
And it blew my mind, too, because I always remember it as Berenstein, like, or Berenstein, however you want to say it.
Yeah, because that's an actual fucking last name, not fucking Berenstain.
Yeah, Berenstain just sounds weird, but it's what it really is.
No, like, if I met, like, a Chadwick Berenstein, I'd be like, yeah, what's up, dude? But Berenstain, I'd be like, that's a fucking made-up name. You're probably a serial rapist. Get away from me. Like, there's no fucking way.
What mental hospital did you break out of? Funny enough, though, just today, while scrolling through Facebook, I came across a photo where, and who knows, this photo could be fake, but I'm going to share it with you guys. But the photo is basically, like, showing a videotape that says, I can't remember if it says... Either way, it says one of them. It says, like, Berenstain, and then he has a book that says Berenstain. So it's like he has both versions. And it's like, see, I fucking told you they changed it. Like I said, who knows if this is a photoshopped photo, but it's just... Either way, it's amazing because it fuels the fire on this thing. Like I said, I'll share that with you guys so you can look at it. I mean, looking at it, I can't really tell that it's, like, edited or anything. I usually have a pretty good eye for that stuff, but... Anyway, the next pop culture reference I want to bring up, and this one's funny too because I remember it the way everybody else is remembering it. So there's a movie about a genie, and most people remember it as being called Shazam, and it's starring the African-American comedian Sinbad.
Okay.
The reality is that the movie is called Kazam, and it stars Shaquille O'Neal, the basketball player.
Okay, well, I know this one. There was supposed to be a movie named Shazam with Sinbad or something like that. Or they did like early production like piloting or something like that. But at the same time, I feel like I've also read an article where Sinbad was like, "Yeah, I had nothing to fucking do with that."
Yeah, he's actually countless times said that there's never been anything like that he's done.
Hmm.
But I mean, there are tons of Reddit posts. There are tons of videos of conspiracy theorists trying to debunk this. But I mean, like, yeah, he said that he never did it. He never had any intentions of doing it. He just basically, like, whenever you try to tell him that he was in a movie that never that never got made, he's just like, you guys are fucking crazy.
Okay, hit me with another one. Because honestly, like even I think my age and also my exposure, uh, to movies like that anyway. Like I don't think I would have even heard about it or remembered it. So I am kind of like at the mercy of other people's recollections.
Yeah, and that is the thing too. Is most of these examples are a little bit aged, but I still think most of these hold up some pretty good relevance, other than maybe the Berenstein Bears. But the next one is from Star Wars, and it's a famous line that I think you've probably heard a million times. So the quote from Star Wars, which is, like I said, one of the most famous quotes, is Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father." He never said that. The line is, "No, I am your father." For some weird reason, people just seem to think he said, "Luke, I am your father," but that's not the actual line. And I mean, obviously, you can just go watch this for yourself. It's in the movie.
I, that's another thing that like I knew that. I think like I said, I have no idea why this became a thing, but at the same time, like I remember quoting "Luke, I am your father" all the time when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But being a pretty decent Star Wars fan, I knew it was "No, I am your father. Search your heart. You know this to be true." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know, like I know that whole fucking scene, but either way, I still quote it like "Luke, I am your father." I don't know. It's weird, and it's very curious to think about like how did that even get started.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of good examples of this too. There's the line from Silence of the Lambs, which is one of the most popular lines from the movie.
Wait.
Where Hannibal Lecter says, "Hello, Clarice."
Yeah.
Never says that. The
What does
only
he
thing
say?
he even gets remotely close to saying that is "Good evening, Clarice." But what he really says in that, and this is from the spot that everybody seems to think he says this.
He says it in
All
the
he
cell.
says is, all he says is "Good morning."
No, he says it in the fucking cell.
He doesn't.
No, wait, he
He just
fucking
says "Good
does.
morning."
Oh my god.
And there's another part later in the movie where she talks to him, and he's in that like jail, like cube basically, and that's where he says "Good evening, Clarice," but he never says "Hello, Clarice."
Okay, well, one of your favorite movies of all time has this, and maybe it was popularized from that more than the actual Silence of the Lambs. Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
Yeah, cable guy.
Yeah, because he puts bacon on his face when they're at medieval times, and he goes, "Hello, Clarice.
It's
Nice
the
to see
skin
you
from the
again."
chicken, actually, but yeah.
Oh, skin from the chicken. Yeah, sorry, but but yeah, like I feel like maybe it was just like the oversaturation of jokes, and maybe that could have
Yeah.
been with the Star Wars thing too, like an oversaturation of just like jokes and uh, doing impressions and stuff that it just catches on that way. That's more than likely, I feel like what happened.
Well, yeah, and it's just there's endless examples of this. Like another one I saw today was from I Love Lucy. Like I said, another older reference, but I've already
Okay.
made a I Love Lucy joke on here, so whatever. But it has to do with Desi Arnaz's character. Um, a lot of people have this weird memory of him saying, "Lucy, you have some splaining to do," but he
Yeah.
never says that. He never says it once on the show.
Really?
Yeah. And that's like his most famous line. If you talk to anybody, they're like, "Oh yeah, he says that." Of course, there's a couple other things, but that's like one of the most famous quotes from his character, and he never once says that on the show. And yeah, there's like like I said, there's a few examples of that, but there's one that I came across today as well while I was just doing some additional research right before we did this. This one threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
It has to do with the song "We Are the Champions" by Queen.
Oh,
And
yeah, I know what you're talking about, motherfucker.
yeah,
I
at the
hate
end of the
this one.
song, the way that everybody imagines the song going is "We are the champions, we are the champions," and then of course it goes on, and then by the end of the song is "We are the champions of the world."
Yeah.
That's how everybody imagines the song ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it ends. That's not how the fucking song ends.
Yeah, he just says we are the champions, and then
Yeah,
it
he just
fades
goes,
out.
"We are the champions," and then it just ends.
I
And I was like,
God.
what the fuck? I swear I remember him saying "of the world."
I feel like there's even movies where they say that. Like, not even as a joke, they're actually genuinely singing the song and they say of the world.
Yeah, and there's even like, I was looking up YouTube stuff about this because after I saw this, I was like, get the fuck out of here. This is the only one that ever like caught me off guard. But there's a YouTube video of some guy like trying to compile a bunch of videos of Queen, and like there's one live performance where he says it. So I don't know if we're all just somehow remembering that one fucking version, but I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, like, honestly, at least he did say it, so it's... Was it the, fuck, the...
Yeah,
something...
the most famous concert that he does with the white, tank top and all that stuff.
Yeah, so that's probably it. It's probably just from his live performance recording.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was that fundraising one. I can't remember what it's for.
Live Aid.
Yeah, Live Aid. There you go. And yeah, but there's even another funny YouTube video where it's like, who was it? Gwen Stefani, George Clooney, and like two other people in there. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but they're all in a car, like traveling together, and it's part of a TV show. But they're all singing that song, and they all like go to say "of the world" at the end of that song while they're singing it, and they're all like thrown off guard because the song just ends after he says "We are the champions." They're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, so now, okay, that one is understandable. Like, a lot of his live performance recordings from Live Aid probably are like the most popular ones and more listened to than his original recordings.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess I would understand that one. However, they should do everything they can to fix that because obviously we have a preference.
Yeah, it's way better. Like I hate the way it ends now. Now that I've listened to it in the real way, I'm like that sounds horrible. I'm glad he ended that or
like
added that at the end.
That's like listening to the original "How to Make a Monster" by Rob Zombie.
Yeah,
that song
sucks in comparison to
the remix.
The remix,
dude. The fucking original is insanely bad. Like,
yeah.
I'm even more impressed with whoever remixed it. I can't remember who, but whoever remixed it, whoever found like, oh yeah, this song can slap. Like, no, like some songs, like if I listen to, like even when I used to like remix music and shit, if I listen to it and I'm like, oh yeah, like I can do this. Like certain song, if I listen to that one, I'd be like, yeah, there's no saving this one.
Yeah. But okay, another example of the Mandela Effect was I had to double check myself on this one, but I told people about this and it threw them for a loop. The Monopoly guy.
Okay.
So just tell me how you describe the Monopoly guy. Like, what does he look like? What is he dressed in?
He has a top hat, a monocle. He's wearing a tuxedo. It's all black, and he has a cane, like a cane that he holds up, I think.
All right, so you're correct about everything of those features except for one. He has no monocle.
What? I thought
no monocle.
I was guessing on the cane, actually.
Nope. It's the monocle, and yeah, everybody seems to, remember him having a monocle, but he doesn't. And I told this to Crystal, I believe it was, or it might have been Faith, and they were like, "No, you're wrong. He has the monocle." And I'm like, "No, he doesn't." And luckily enough, we had that Monopoly set right there, so I grabbed it and put it right in front of him. I was like, he doesn't have a monocle. And they're like, oh, that
Get
must be
the-
in the old ones or something. But no, you can look it up. He's never had a monocle. I think just people associating a
The top
monocle
hat.
with like, like, you know, other articles of clothing that kind of insinuate, you know, being rich. So like the top hat, the fancy coat, the cane, all of that stuff kind of insinuates richness, and so does a monocle. You don't ever see a poor person going, I do say, Clarence, with a monocle.
I have a monocle.
Do you?
Yeah, it's for
Yeah,
my fucking. It's for my dick.
It's a broken set of glasses.
I just imagine my dick with a fucking like curly mustache and a top hat.
Curl your pubic hair and give it a monocle. Name him Clarence.
Okay, can we take a second? And what if you grew pubic hair on your like dickhead?
I don't like the thought of that at all.
That would suck so much, dude. I grow hair like up my shaft, and even that's pretty uncomfortable because I feel like I have a fucking like woolly mammoth dick or some shit. Except minus the size.
Or like, yeah. Or like the dicks off of a Big Mouth.
Ugh. I haven't.
Maurice's dicks.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
All right. Other than that, I mean, like basically we could just keep going on and on about a bunch of other examples of the Mandela Effect. But do you have any like personal Mandela Effect stories? Anything that you could say, you know, you came across organically, not as part of like this conspiracy that kind of blew up recently?
I mean, nothing outside of like self-delusion. Like I remember a lot of things a lot fucking differently than other people. But I mean, like I said, it's mostly self-delusion or like your mind making you feel more comfortable with yourself. Outside of that, no, not really. I mean, my memory's pretty good beyond that. I mean, like, I wasn't exposed to a lot of like the examples. Like, if they were to bring up shit about like Ratchet and Clank or fucking like War of the Monsters or something, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. like okay, like what was the what the fuck was the name? What was the ape's name in War of the Monsters?
Oh, I don't remember. It was something kind of ripping off King Kong, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was Conger.
Yeah, Conger or something.
Or no, that was fuck me. No, that was a different one. I think it was that.
See, you're screwing it up.
Yeah, it was the 2D one. I think. Remember the 2D
game? The 2D monster fighting game?
Midway, the one where you're just destroying the city and shit.
Yeah, what is that called?
I think that one was Conger. They made a movie with it, about it.
Yeah,
with
just
The Rock.
recently with Dwayne Johnson. Can't remember what the hell it's called.
I'm just thinking of like a bunch of old fucking. I almost said Killer Instinct. That's a whole fucking different game. Fuck me, dude. I need to start
getting
drinking.
all mixed up.
Fuck it. It's Jack. It's Jack and Daxter.
Yeah,
No.
I can't say I have any other personal experiences either other than that Monopoly one. I mean, that, like I said, it didn't happen to me. I just happened to come across that one organically and point that out to like Crystal or Faith, whoever it was.
Yeah. I think the only one I genuinely remember is Berenstain Bears. I'm still gonna say Berenstain. I don't fucking care. But like that's because I read those books like in school in Head Start, like preschool.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only ones I remember. I remember it being Berenstain. But I was also 3 to 4 years old, so, you know, like, fucking, I can't really depend on my fucking dumb shit 4-year-old brain to fucking relay those memories properly, so. But either way, like, I always said Berenstain, guaranteed. But that could have just been me missaying it.
Yeah. More than likely. And, basically to sum up the Mandela Effect, that's pretty much what happens is you just remember stuff wrong, you know, and that's nothing wrong with that. It happens to everybody. But this is just a big case of everybody remembering stuff wrong in the same way.
Yeah,
and,
we're all just fucking dumb.
We're all dumb for the same reasons. But anyway, guys, that's going to take us to Tipplers Take 2. Sean, why don't you lead us in there?
That was pretty much it, actually. Yeah, guys, it's time for Tipplers Take 2.
Come on. So what's holding everything up here?
Art department.
So the grips are holding us back?
All right, try that take one more time.
1 second.
Okay, quiet on the set.
Tipplers take 2. A mark.
Action!
Time traveling movies. Holy fuck, there's a lot of them. Did you know that, Chris? God damn
Yeah,
it.
I did.
There's so fucking many of them.
So much so that I had to try to like find the 1 or 2 Mandela Effect movies just so that we weren't talking about nothing but time travel movies.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do us a favor. I'm gonna replace. There's a movie on here. I'm just gonna say it right now. It's called The Mandela Effect. Neither of us have ever seen it. Go check it out. Tell us if it's good. I'm not gonna watch it. Okay? I love
Yeah,
you.
it came out like last year, so
Yeah,
who knows if it's any good.
I don't fucking care. I will replace it with a movie that I have seen and I do like, and I don't think Chris has seen. So, but it's okay. It's a POV movie.
Alright, fair enough.
Anyway, so first movie, fucking obviously, with my boy Michael J. Fox is Back to the Future, which me and Chris can both agree, fucking top 10 on our movie list. The whole trilogy is included as one, because I love this trilogy so fucking much.
Yeah, very good movies, very good family fun movies. I, of course, have more than enough memories of watching them growing up with my family.
Yeah.
I think there was a good period of time, too, where we were all just, like, obsessed with watching those. Because I swear I remember, like, a good fucking 2 years where it was, like, every time I'd come visit mom or something, it was fucking Back to the Future. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta try something else. But
Yeah,
I do love Back to the Future. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I would go out of my way to watch the first one and get it out of the way just so I can watch the second one, so the second one didn't just stand alone by itself.
Yeah, and see, a lot of people don't like the second one, but I remember the second one being a little bit better than the first and third one.
No, I'm saying I like the second one more, so that way I would watch the first one to back up.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like the second one more, but a lot of people, when you look up the movies, seem to think that the second one wasn't very good.
Well, those people are fucking dumb as shit, because the second one's, like, by far the best one. The first,
Yeah,
like,
I was
what the
I
fuck
thought
is...
the second one was the best one.
What the fuck is so special about the first one, dude? Like, I mean, like, honestly.
It sets up the story, but yeah, really, it's just kind of basic
like,
time travel stuff.
Small budget, fucking, what's the difference? Fucking 30 years? Oh, man, you guys had to change wardrobe a little bit. Fucking crazy. No, fucking the second one, insane. A fucking, you get to see the future. It fucking showed hoverboards. Guess what I wanted for that fucking Christmas, alright? You got to fucking see a dystopian future in Marty McFly's hometown, where fucking antagonist, what the fuck is his name? Biff. Where antagonist Biff fucking killed his dad and took over the town because he found out that Marty McFly was time traveling, so he stole an almanac from the future. Like, by far, the second one's the fucking best one. Don't ever fucking argue with me about that. The third one's okay.
Yeah, the third one's a little dumb. I'll give it that, but at least they kind of tried to do something new. Tried to spice things up a little bit.
Yeah. I think the main job of the third one was just giving an out to oh my god, I'm gonna shoot myself. I can't remember this. Are you fucking kidding me? Doc Brown.
Yeah, Doc Brown.
Giving him an out. Because his present was him fucking being chased by Russian, operatives or whatever. And then basically he was just trying to like take care of Marty's future and stuff, and ultimately like he helped him with that. But that's really all he cared about, was he just cared about Marty. And then once he solved that, then they're like, okay, well, what the fuck do I do now? And I think that's the whole point of the third one, was just to take care of Doc Brown. So he found a family and stuff back in the 1800s, which is, it's sweet. And the plot works. But the first one and the second one by far the best ones, just because the first one's just so deliciously odd.
Yeah.
Because I would fucking kill myself if I went back in time and our mom tried to fuck me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many questions that the first one brings up. Why is a high schooler hanging out with some professor? Mm-hmm. It never even explains why.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, just basically like, don't worry about it. He's just hanging out with them.
Why? Yeah, what was it? It was John Mulaney. He was all like, why is this high schooler hanging out with a disgraced nuclear scientist?
Yeah. But yeah, it never says. It's just odd. And then, yeah, like you said, the mom hitting on the son thing is a little fucking weird. Like they just added some sort of weird incest joke there.
To
and
be
then they try to
fair,
rip black people off with the Johnny Be Good thing.
yeah, that's not cool. They we probably shouldn't comment on that during our our current social standing. Whatever. It was still funny, but without a doubt, I think the like incest joking was actually kind of brave as far as like that sense of humor goes. Because you didn't see a lot of
especially.
Yeah, you didn't see a lot of like taboo kind of joking, and they pulled it off pretty well. But it was like one of those first movie moments where you're cringing, but in a good way, because you're like, oh fuck no.
Yeah, because it puts you in the same shoes where you're like, oh my god, if that was happening to me, I'd be so grossed out. And it's like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to relate.
Yeah,
they made you relate in just a very unconventional way.
Yeah, I have a lot of movies that I can't fucking think of right now, but like I remember like growing up, like I'd watch movies and I would like actively cringe.
Yeah.
Just because I feel sorry for like the main character. I wish I cared that much for fucking movies and stuff as I did when I was a kid. But yeah, they did an insane job. So, by the way, they're both still fucking alive. So, it's insane. Marty McFly and Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox is a fucking king.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the other actor's
Lloyd.
name. Christopher Lloyd. He was in. He was also in. Don't fucking don't. Ah, shit. With the rabbit.
the fucking drawn bunny.
Oh god damn it. Fucking go for it. I'm on my third glass of sangria. I don't care. What was it?
It's Roger Rabbit.
Son of a bitch. So I wasn't even far off. I just had to fucking add Roger.
Just the rabbit. Like, and his name was
Richard.
Richard the rabbit.
No, what was the subtitle for it? It was like the fuck is it?
The mysterious death of I don't know. I don't remember.
But there is a subtitle.
Oh, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? There you go.
Yeah, Who Framed.
Okay, so one that I wanted to bring up was The Time Machine, which is a movie from I think about 2002. I want to say. There's also an old version from like the 60s or some shit like that, but I'm going to talk about that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this one stars Guy Pearce. Pretty simple time traveler story. It takes place in like the 1800s, I believe, and him and his wife are like walking in the street. His wife ends up getting hit by a carriage, and she passes away. And he's the scientist who builds this time machine, and basically ends up using it to try to go back in the past and prevent her from dying, but ends up accidentally going forward like something crazy, like 800,000 years into the future, and yeah, it ends up in between this war between these two types of races of humans, basically, from like a super super distant future. And like it's a really cool movie, especially for the concept of the machine that they use to time travel. I like the machine that he invents and stuff, and I like the way it operates and everything, because it like changes time all around the machine. So everything on the machine within its perimeter stays the same. So like him, but they even like show this in a scene. Like I think when he first uses it, he like drops his pocket watch, and it falls outside of like the little temporal field. And like as the watch falls outside of it, it like changes and turns all old and dusty and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's sitting in it, it doesn't move or anything. He's just sitting in this time machine, and it basically just shows everything changing around him. And I don't know, I thought that was really cool. Plus there's some cool special effects. Well, I shouldn't say special effects, but practical effects in the movie and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's a really entertaining movie too. Just like I said, a really good, straightforward like time travel movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a really good fucking time travel movie. I maybe watched it twice when I was younger. I don't remember it that well. I remember like he's in the future, and everyone's like bicycling around like it's a utopia, and then the moon explodes or something. Like it gets fucking crazy. Like it shows like basically the world started ending, and then he gets in the machine. Then he ends up like
like way too far in the future.
Yeah, like way too far.
Yeah.
It's
To where basically civilization like restarts and shit.
yeah, it's really cool. But another one on the comedy side of things is a Hot Tub Time Machine with Chris's favorite actor, John Cusack. What's his name? Craig Robinson. Shit. The other two, I never remember them.
Yeah, I don't remember their names, the actors' names.
But essentially, it's four guys. It's three childhood friends. They go to a hotel that they used to go to when they were teenagers, and try to relive some memories because a friend of theirs named Lou, basically attempted suicide, and he's very cocky and shit. He's like, I didn't fucking try to commit suicide. I was just drunk. Blah blah blah. And they're like, yeah, well, we know better. And they try to take him out there. And they also bring along John Cusack's, what's his name? What's its name? Fuck, I'm drunk. It's his nephew. And so whenever he goes out there, it's basically the town's fucking done for. Like, it's not as big as it used to be. Like, well beyond its the time of its life, essentially. And whenever they realize this, they say, fuck it, we have a hot tub, we're going to get drunk and just relive our memories that way. And when they do, they find out after getting drunk and having a hangover and shit that when they wake up, they're in the 1980s again.
Yeah.
And they figure out with, what's his name? God, I can't remember. Why on this show do I never fucking remember anybody's name? Outside of this, I'm great with names. Motherfucker. Like, I can't remember anybody. Son of a bitch. I can't. He was on SNL. And fucking...
Talking about the old guy in the movie?
Yeah.
It's Chevy Chase.
Thank you. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, he has a bunch of other fucking actors and actresses. Rob Corddry, that's what his name is Lou, and then Clark Duke is Jacob, which is the nephew of John Cusack's character.
Yeah.
And Craig
Very
Robinson's.
funny movie, though. Very funny.
It's fucking really funny. Yeah, and then they also have a sequel that doesn't have John Cusack, and it actually has Adam something. He's in Parks and Rec.
Does it have Craig Robinson in it still?
Yeah, it has Craig Robinson, Clark Duke, and Rob Corddry, but it doesn't have John Cusack. The second one, they replace John Cusack with his son, I guess. It's either his son or something like that. And it's supposed to be, it's the dude that's in Parks and Rec. Motherfucker. I can never remember any names. I hate this show so much.
The guy who plays Ben?
Adam Scott. Yeah,
Adam Scott.
So yeah, Adam Scott's in the second one, but it's pretty much just as funny, if not like even more kind of extra. Since it's in the future, they get to take a lot of liberties and make their own future. So they have like really off the wall like a game show where you were in like virtual or augmented reality, and Craig Robinson has to pretend fuck Lou, and they can feel it all.
I never saw that second one, so.
Like, that seems fucking great. But anyway, just check out those two, because those two are fucking amazing as well. There is a trend in Netflix shows, a lot of Netflix shows, actually, and Hulu shows. There's one that I just saw with Andy... God damn it. Why do I even try? Samberg. Andy Samberg. Something about paradise. But yeah, he's essentially in a time loop with another actress. I actually don't know her name, but she was in How I Met Your Mother. And he's in a time loop with her, and they're just like basically experiencing the same day over and over again. Before that, there's another one called like the Red Russian or something, with another actress that was in American Pie and Orange is the New Black. And honestly, all these movies and shows have something to do with a very popular movie with my boy Bill Murray called Groundhog Day. And Groundhog Day, I actually don't remember that well, unfortunately, but that's pretty much the premise. Is he's just reliving the same day over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the story of Ebenezer Scrooge from like the Christmas Carol stuff. He's basically like an asshole, and there's just one particular day where he like fucks over too many people basically in one day, and I don't even think there's any sort of entity represented if I can remember correctly, but basically he's just forced to relive that day until he gets it all right, basically, like does all the right things. And it's like, it goes as far as to where he can die and he'll still come back to that same day and relive it. So it's like, yeah, he can't escape until he does all the right things. And they do a ton of funny stuff with him killing himself and shit like that. Like, he just, like, drops a fucking, like, I don't think it's a toaster, but he does something like that where he drops it into the bathtub, like, jumps off a building, does all sorts of stuff, and, like, just fucks
Yeah, and
with
he's
people.
all. I think like it's funnier because he starts doing it casually.
Yeah, just, like, all nonchalant, just like, man, whatever, I'm just gonna die now.
And yeah, another bigger movie, not bigger, but a movie that I liked a lot actually was Edge of Tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure was originally called Live, Die, Repeat because the fucking marketing on this was trash. But
yeah, that's funny too because I think it got marketed so poorly that people called it Live, Die, Repeat so much that they changed the title to Live, Die, Repeat.
yeah, Live, Die, Repeat, and then Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has Tom Cruise in it. It's premises an alien race is invading, and this alien race, basically, the army is realizing that they like are really good at fortifying themselves and all this shit, but they don't really exactly know why. Tom Cruise finds out because he finds a special alien, and when he kills it, the blood seeps on him and kills him, and then he wakes up at the beginning of the day. And basically has to relive this day over and over again until pretty much the same as Groundhog Day, he gets it right, and he can kill the big boss, the Omega or whatever, that holds the power of like the cyclical time loop. So
so it's basically Groundhog Day, but an action variant instead of Groundhog Day, which is a comedy.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, if you're wanting a funny version of it, watch Groundhog Day. Forget all the other pretending movies because I don't think any of them really stack up to that one.
Yeah.
And then if you want an action version, it's still got some funny parts, but if you want a more action-oriented one, watch Edge of Tomorrow because it's pretty good.
Yeah, especially when he's in training and what's her name?
Yeah.
Emily Blunt keeps fucking shooting him.
Yeah.
I can't feel my back. She's like, gotta start again. He's like, no wait.
Yeah.
Like he gets fucked up. But it's kind of crazy because like even towards the end of the movie, it kind of hints to like pretty much hints like he's been doing this for fucking months.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that would be a fucking nightmare. Like in the middle of a war and you're reliving the same war day over and over again. That'd be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of war, and also shout out to probably one of our favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Again, we bring up Terminator because this has a very heavy time travel aspect in it. Not really in the stories individually themselves. There actually isn't much time travel. Except
it's just kind of used as like a background vehicle to like propel the story, basically.
Yeah, it wasn't until like the last two that they tried making where they're like, oh, now the timeline's different. Shut the fuck up. The first two are the only ones that matter.
Yeah.
Alright? Nobody gives a fuck about the rest of them. Maybe the third one gets a pass, but that's about it. But, yeah, so Terminator, if you guys didn't know already, which you fucking should, but if you guys didn't know, John Connor sends his basically a private in his army against the rebellion of killer robots. He sends a private named Kyle back in time to protect him, essentially protect John Connor or protect his mom, because the robots or the Terminators also sent a robot back in time to kill John Connor or his mom. And this brings in the cyclical loop thing where if John Connor didn't send Kyle back to basically plow out his mom, there would not be a John Connor, which probably was like it was actually a really good fucking twist for the time.
Yeah.
And probably really fucking bad John's account. Like imagine if you had like a really good friend and you're like, look man, I just need you to go back in time and protect my mom. He just ends up dicking her down.
And then your friend just fucks your mom. He comes back, he's like, hey, did everything go alright? Yeah, man. Honestly, it went better than expected. If I can say that.
Turns
Your
out
mom's fantastic. If she asks about me, just tell her I'm not around.
and by the way, it turns out we have a similar jaw for a crazy reason.
You know how we're always saying, like, if we wear the same clothes, like, kind of look alike? Well, all right, just, wrap that around your noodle for a bit. I'll talk to you later.
A more recent one is probably, honestly, I don't care. I don't really care if it's a fad or a trend or whatever. I've always been a fan of comics and comic characters. I mean, fucking name one blood-redded American boy that didn't fucking love Spider-Man or Captain America or whatever.
Yeah, for real.
Because, like, seriously, I don't fucking care. Like, I love Spider-Man and Venom and Carnage and stuff growing up. You liked, like, Ghost Rider and V for Vendetta and shit like that. There's no way that you're not going to grow up with some semblance of comics in your life.
Yeah.
And to that, I bring Avengers Endgame, because everyone speculated that there would be time travel, and lo and behold, they were fucking right, and they actually did it really well.
Yeah.
Because Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, the Hulk, basically find out how to time travel, and they figure out that they can time travel and fix their own future, how we were saying before, where if they go back in time, all it's going to make is an alternate timeline. So as long as they restore the old timelines, then it should be fine. So basically, they were going back in time to get the Infinity Stones for the Infinity Gauntlet that Thanos used to half the population, or kill half of all life, which they call the decimation. So as long as they went back, got the stones, fixed their present, and then went back in time again to put back the stones, then everything theoretically would be fine.
Yeah.
Of course, that happens, but it also didn't happen, because at the end of the movie, spoilers, but at the same time, if you haven't seen this yet, you're probably not going to see it because you're obviously not interested.
Yeah.
If they send Captain America back in time to restore everything. However, there are little bits of pieces that they just couldn't restore. There's a scene where they're trying to get the Tesseract, the Space Stone from Loki, and then they find out later that, oh, well, we can also get it from this area, because Tony Stark was like, I know where it was at this time. But the first time they fuck up, and Loki disappears with the Space Stone. And yeah, so that already made one timeline that they couldn't fix. And then, there's more speculation with the Scarlet Witch and stuff, making her own dimensions and shit like that. It brings time travel all day. And especially with the new phase of it, because like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is going to come out.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon, but it's going to come out, and that's supposed to go into more of the multiverse itself. So hopefully we get more one-shot MCU movies where we get to see cool new versions of heroes that we've already seen. And honestly, with any comic book universe, there is a multiverse. And because there's no fucking way you can read a comic book and be like, okay, Peter Parker, yeah, he beat up Venom. Fuck yeah, dude. Like, oh, he killed Green Goblin? Well, I like Green Goblin. Shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can't have... We have a set amount of heroes and villains, and we like seeing different versions of those. Like Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2099. I think he was more of like a Mexican one. Not Mexican, but like a Dominican or something like that. But yeah, like, especially Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's like fucking insanely into like the multiverse and stuff like that. So, Avengers Endgame, as far as like mainstream trending, fucking probably one of the best recent time travel movies that I've seen, and they do actually a really good job of explaining it. So, another one that wasn't so great.
Yeah, not particularly a good movie, but good concept.
Is the Butterfly Effect. This movie was such a sack of shit that I don't know why it was allowed to be made. All I remember is they end up fighting gorillas at the end, and that is all my reference I need to explain why you shouldn't watch this movie.
Oh, I think you're thinking of a different movie.
This was Butterfly Effect. I swear to God.
No, I'm talking about the one because the Butterfly Effect is the one with Ashton Kutcher.
I'm pretty sure this movie was terrible too. Either way,
I think you're thinking. Yeah, Butterfly Effect is still a terrible movie, but I think you're thinking of Sound of Thunder. That like low budget time travel movie.
yeah, you know what? You're right. It's the same premise though, basically.
Yeah, still has everything to do with like.
They go back in time, they fuck up one little thing, and
yeah, if you fuck up something, it just causes this trend of fucking up a bunch of stuff in the future.
Okay, well, don't watch Sound of Thunder either. But
yeah, I didn't even put that. I was going to, and I didn't even put that on here because that movie's. Oh, that movie's awful.
Okay, well,
let me just tell you, it's got a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, well, explain Butterfly Effect again, because Butterfly Effect is basically that. It's just going back in time. The Butterfly Effect, like the actual the phenomena, is just going back in time and like basically stepping on a ladybug, and in the future it causes a tornado, something like that.
Yeah, the Butterfly Effect movie was like Ashton Kutcher figures out he can, like kind of how we were talking in the beginning, he can figure out how to like mentally travel in time. And he ends up doing this. I don't remember why. It's like something trying to do with a love story. Like tries to go back and fix his relationship with his girlfriend or something. But everything he does to try to change it to where they get together, it just ends up becoming more fucked up in his future. Like it even goes as far as to like at one point he goes to when they were children to try to go as far back as he can to change things. And it ends up just leading to him getting like blown up due to like some firework incident. And so then in the now future that it brings him back to, he's got like an arm missing and all sorts of stuff. But like I said, cool concept, but terrible movie because Ashton Kutcher was early on in his acting career, and it shows. And then just as the movie goes on, the plot just starts to go off the rails a little too early.
By the way, not that he needs it, but shout out to Ashton Kutcher for all the fucking great work he does with human trafficking and stuff. I'm not gonna shut up about it, so I'm sorry. But
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad he does that shit. And we brought it up last episode. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep bringing it up. So if it bothers you, I don't fucking care. I already told someone. I'll get into it later. Anyway, so Butterfly Effect, not a good movie. Sound of Thunder, really not a good movie. The Forgotten, I actually don't remember this one at all. So.
Yeah, okay, so like I said, I was trying to find movies that would apply to the Mandela Effect. This movie doesn't necessarily apply to the Mandela Effect, but it's somewhat similar. And this is an older movie too, so if you haven't watched it, it's too bad. I'm going to spoil it. And if you want to watch it, then go watch it. And just skip past this. But The Forgotten, basically, it's like this woman loses her child, and I think it's Julianne Moore as the actress.
Oh, I know which one it is. Okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they basically, like, the whole conspiracy part of the movie is, like, they end up trying to make her think that her daughter never existed. And the only reason I put it on here with this is because kind of, like, you know, the false memory thing. They try to convince her of a false memory, and basically it doesn't work.
Because love is just too fucking powerful, dude.
Yeah, of course they went. That's the only problem. They went the whole typical route of doing that. Like, yeah, love is too strong, and it turns out to be aliens conducting an experiment and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, like I said, it gets a little dumb towards the end of the movie. But the best part about the movie was the commercials, though, because
The commercials are
how
fucking dope. Because they had a bitch just get sucked into the fucking sky, bro.
Yeah, that's the best part of the movie, is because anybody that starts to tell her the truth about what's going on, they just suddenly get sucked into the sky. And it's the craziest fucking shit.
Yeah, like
but yeah, there's like a part where she's talking to a woman in the middle of a parking lot, and she just goes flying into the sky. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, like when you're first watching this movie, you're like, what?
Yeah,
especially
it's crazy.
Especially if you never saw any trailers for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the one I wanted to add was Project Almanac.
I totally forgot about that.
This movie was fucking surprisingly good. A little bit cheesy as far as like, oh, I discovered a time machine, because like it's very thrown together science, and that's even speaking of like me. Like I'm not a fucking astrophysicist or anything like that, but even me watching it, I'm like, okay, well that's not even remotely believable, but fine. But basically, his dad or something, like the main character's dad was working on a time machine and he died. He didn't know that was what he was working on, but he goes down to the basement with his friends and he's like, oh yeah, this is all my dad's workshop, blah blah. And then he ends up kind of piecing it together when he looks at the blueprints. He's like, this is a fucking time machine. And it's kind of cool because it puts time machines in the hands of like what would an average teenager do or a young adult would do. And it's kind of cool. It kind of brings in like those vibes of like Project X, another POV movie. It's a party movie, and a comedy. But yeah, it's like, what would these teenagers do if they were just allowed to time travel, and also like the repercussions of that and stuff. And yeah, he basically figures out like he can kind of. Okay, so in one instance, like as far as like teenagers' experience goes, they had like SATs or tests or whatever that they had to do one day, and it was the same day as Coachella. So they experienced that day where they went through it in their present, and then they took their tests or whatever, and then the next day they used the time machine to go back in time to go to Coachella. So they got to do both.
Okay.
So it's actually like really cool, but then it starts getting into like what would happen when you interact with yourself. Like they try to fuck with one of the characters' past selves, like waking them up or whatever, and then they end up looking each other in the eyes, and then like you start hearing like glitching and a bunch of crazy shit, and it gets really cool. Yeah, so definitely check out Project Almanac, like, and that goes for you too, Chris, because it's all right. It's like I said, the time traveling aspect of like how they explain, oh, I'm able to do it because of this, blah blah blah. But as far as the experience goes, it's a good film. It's a good movie to watch when you need that stimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a real quick honorable mention before we jump out of Tipplers Take Two, Tenet.
Yeah,
Tenet's coming out.
I cannot fucking wait. God damn it.
It's not out yet, so we have no idea if it's good, but I'm just going to go ahead and
say
automatically assume it's good because Christopher Nolan, my boy, and it looks good as fuck, and I can't wait to watch it. It has a lot to do with time travel type, or not time travel, but just time manipulation. And yeah, it just looks cool as hell, so can't wait.
And new Bat Boy fucking Robert Pattinson in it too, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, so so I don't have to tell you, obviously, because it's not like we're getting fucking sponsored, but you need to check out fucking Tenet, alright, when it comes out. I don't know when it's going to come out, but knowing Christopher Nolan, he's probably going to wait till the theaters open up, so it probably won't be for a while. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that wraps up today's Tipplers Take Two.
And cut.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap.
Okay, so I want to give you a little story really quick because, like I said earlier, I am not going to stop talking about the child trafficking, human trafficking stuff, and I'm not going to stop promoting a Save Our Children shirt, let alone our merch. I mean, we do that every episode. But I got in an argument on our page. Not in an argument, but it was just the dumbest fucking thing, just because I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say, but, at the same time, I'm not going to fucking give my full thoughts on this. Yeah. Basically, this person, I posted the picture of the shirt promoting it, saying that all proceeds go to the Children's Rescue Coalition. And she was like, oh, this is a QAnon shirt, and that goes towards the people that fucking... it goes towards the people that think that Bill Gates is trying to put chips in you and blah, blah, blah. The only actual hashtag is hashtag save the children, not save our children, blah, blah, blah. Okay. First of all, I don't believe in any of that. So, even if Bill Gates was trying to put a chip in me, I'd probably fucking let him. Second of all, that's not relevant at all. And third of all, I don't care. Right now, hashtags is all about what is most popular, and unfortunately, that is how I have to think about it. I have to think about it as what's more popular, save the children or save our children? Save the children stopped being popular because people believe in conspiracy theories and all that shit, so they think that Bill Gates is going to put a chip in you and fucking Zuckerberg is behind it all, blah, blah, blah. So if Save Our Children is trending more, I'm going to use Save Our Children. Either way, it earns fucking money for the Child Rescue Coalition, so it's not fucking relevant, you dumb shit asshole. All right? So, just so you know, you can go to represent.com/store/Tipplers 2 cents to get a Save Our Children shirt, and the proceeds of which will go to the Child Rescue Coalition. Okay? That is all I have to say about that. Don't fucking argue with me over this shit. Please.
Time travel, the Mandela Effect, alternate timelines, and false memories. Hopefully you've enjoyed our discussion about today's topics, and if you did, we urge you to subscribe or follow us so you can catch a new episode every Monday on all your favorite platforms. Please be sure to leave a review if possible. Those reviews go a long way in helping us grow the show by catching the eyes and ears of new listeners as well as potential sponsors who can help fund the show.
Yeah, we did fucking great this last week, guys. Fucking good on you. We have so many listeners in California and West Virginia, Arizona, and Maryland. Who the fuck lives in Maryland? You know who? Some badass people, alright? And I know where you are. So don't you ever fucking stop listening. If you would like to interact with us further, you can always follow us on our Instagram and Facebook pages so you can argue with me as well, or email us at tipplers2centspodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the funding of the show ourselves, we have some t-shirt available for you at our merch store at represent.com/store/tipplers2cents, where the Save Our Children shirt is, and also some special episodic tribute shirts that I made personally. Those t-shirt purchases help us to keep this show going and growing, and also gives you something to show for your support. So if you guys do purchase those shirts, we thank you so very much.
Yeah, for sure. Next week, we will be talking about the Bermuda Triangle and Skinwalker Ranch, as well as some other strange places around the world. So stay tuned if those topics tickle your fancy. We will see you in the future, where we will reminisce about things that never quite happened the way we remember them. And we'll both go slowly insane from the sheer stress of our false memories. Or maybe we'll just see you next time on Tipplers 2 Cents. Adios!
So long, and remember, drink responsibly and think responsibly. Bye!